My mother was a child bride. At least I think she was. By the time my father died, she was 19 years old. My elder sister was 2 years, and I was 9 months. And therefore, I think by the time my mother got married, she was 16 years old. Though we never spoke about it, it changed the course of her life and all our lives as well. My mother was limited by what she could do and what she could not do as a girl, growing up in a patriarchal community that still places obstacles in the success and happiness of many women and girls today. Because of child marriage, she was deprived of a happy childhood and pulled out of school. Because of a lack of health care, information, and sexual education, she got pregnant at a young age. When my father died, my mother was left alone with no skills, no opportunities. My mother had to struggle for herself to find a way to take care of us. It was really heartbreaking. The thing is, no one ever talks about any of these issues in Uganda. Uganda's culture is so full of taboos that you cannot easily say, I'm going to the toilet, but you can say, I'm going to the back room. While I was growing up, I saw my sister taking what I called certain kind of bread. I did not notice that she was taking sanitary pads simply because in Uganda we never talk about anything like that. If a girl gets pregnant, she is simply married off. No one supports her or gives her the health care she needs. And as a result, thousands of young mothers end up dying at childbirth. This is really very common. Very many of us know someone, a sister, a relative, a cousin who has died while they are trying to give birth. And this is something that needs to be addressed, I feel. Stigma also keeps most women silent about what they experience, and most men wouldn't care to hear or act on what they have to say anyway. My mother never even told me about the challenges she faced. Even up to this moment, she has never faced me to tell me that maybe use a condom, maybe protect yourself in this way. Anything to deal with sexual education, she can never face me. And it does not happen to me, but also other young people in society. They just end up growing and discovering for themselves, which is sometimes very dangerous. These taboos, these barriers of silence prevent our society from moving forward and developing. They perpetuate poverty, misery, inequality, and injustice. Child marriage, reproductive rights, and girls' access to education are often written off as women's issues. But what we never acknowledge is that they affect every single person in our community because they prevent girls and their children from achieving their true potential. I didn't realize at the time, but I had a very difficult childhood. All around me, the cycle of poverty churned on, depriving children and our community at large of a bright future we could have had. We will never really address the challenges facing Uganda if we don't discuss them openly and debate solutions. For example, the HIV/AIDS campaign in Uganda. Over the previous years, the government was spreading a message, making us very scared of HIV and making people having HIV seem to look so bad, and all the dramas around HIV were something that were so nasty about HIV/AIDS people, and this created some kind of backlash, and it backfired. But at the end of the day, when the government changed the message these days, the communication comes that HIV/AIDS affected people can take antiretroviral drugs, and it shows that they can survive, and also they are human. The message has changed, and everything in the country looks like it's coming back again. Alike when it comes to child marriage, my community's silence makes us blind to the ways child marriage shapes our lives and futures. I was lucky because of a combination of luck and persistence. In my case, my mother was able to provide for us. She moved back to my grandparents' home. managed to get a certificate, a teaching certificate, and was able to take us to school. And through her school, she managed to bring to me books. She brought from fairy tales, and I was introduced later on to prominent writers like Shakespeare, Austen, the Bronte sisters, and that really shaped my life and my career. I don't really consider myself a successful person. I don't own a house, but I drive a car and manage to pay rent in a nice apartment. Yet so many young people in Uganda see me as a very successful person. The reason being that maybe 70% of the people I studied with, or I was with at primary level, dropped out of school. They couldn't afford the education. Some got married at that stage, and therefore today I look out. My story is a rare one, and yet because I had access to a full education and books that allowed me to see beyond poverty. I've always told my countrymen that I always thought I am very rich, or we are rich as a nation, until the time I traveled to Norway in 2017, and I discovered how miserable our nation was. It was my mother that made the difference for me. She defied the odds, but not everyone can do that, or should even have to. If we want to interconnect the ills of child marriage, poor health care, and poverty, then we need to talk about these issues, about how poverty leads to child marriage, which leads to poor access to education, which leads again to poverty. When we break the silence, we can make a start to break the patterns that emerge. Today, as a young man and entrepreneur, I feel that the best way I can help my community is by breaking this silence, by talking about these issues, by telling these stories. And therefore, I've used the books to tell these stories, and I've also used film, simply because I'm looking for where the audience is. If people are busy watching television and on their phones, I'm also taking the message to where they are. Therefore, I've created Uliwood, the Ugandan Hollywood, and we are trying, and we are trying to create stories that communicate different messages about young people's health, about their education, to global audiences. And I've also worked along with some organization called Plan International. We've been able to work on a project called My Body, My Future. And we've managed to go to different schools, collected 39,000 signatures from young people who feel the government needs to give them more information, more services on their health. And we've petitioned the government, and the government has responded by legislation that it is providing more services and health information to young people. And I think that's the way forward for the nation, and it's very positive for us. For me, these projects about exercising my freedom of speech, freedom of expression. If we want to change our society, then we must break through these walls of silence to recognize the ways our traditions and taboos hold us back, so that we can give everyone the full and rewarding future they deserve. Uganda has the youngest population in the world. The youngest population in the world. And we are living in a world of broken dreams. But I want to transform this from a world of broken dreams to a world of potential, and a world that can hope and make a difference. And this is the reason why I decide to speak out and say, we must change this story. Thank you very much.